All right, let's try this. I'm sure this sounds like absolute trash, but let's just try this audio. Steven, this must be how my grandpa feels all the time. Yeah, you're not kidding, right? You're not kidding. Thanks again to everybody for staying with me while I deal with all that. Um, so this defense is, in my opinion, championship level defense, right? I don't think the players that should get the shine from everybody are really getting the shine, right? I think it kind of starts with AJ Epinesa. I, I think Epinesa is performing in a way that most people probably didn't really expect so early in the season. I'm not gonna lie. AJ Epinesa, after his rookie season, I was like, okay, well, he's a fine player. He's gonna be fine. It's fine. Good pick at the time, okay. But boy, did he have an off season, right? I mean, we're talking, he looks fast, he looks strong. Everything about Epinesa is different this season through the first two games. Just crazy to me, right? Absolutely crazy that a player could make a jump so quickly. Because again, I wouldn't say Epinesa was great last year. He did an admirable job. He was around the football enough, I guess. Like he was fine. But boy, is he different. Now we're going to use Pro Football Reference to talk about defensive stats. Defensive stats are a little subjective, so depending on where you're looking, they could vary a little bit, especially when it comes to QB pressures, right? Um, Again, stats will vary a shade. Like ESPN will have different QB pressure stats, and PFF will have different QB pressure stats. But Pro Football Reference is real simple. They keep track of sacks, hits, tackles, combined tackles, assists, right? Okay. That's pretty much what they keep track of. AJ Epinesa is leading the team, but it's only with 3 QB hits. And that number may shock some people because they've seen different QB pressure stats, but that's true QB hits. Okay. Um, with that being said, I am pretty confident nobody had AJ Epinesa will be leading the Bills in pressure coming in on their 2021 Buffalo Bills bingo card, right? It's not exactly what you would imagine seeing. And that's cool. That's great because I think it takes some pressure off of those drafted defensive ends. Now, as we know, Basham's been inactive, and Epinesa has been playing at a level that's not even a discussion whether you activate Basham. It's not. Why would you activate Basham, right? You still have Mario Addison, which you kind of expected once he made the team that he would remain starting. Jerry Hughes, again, same conversation. Even though AJ Epinesa is playing out of his mind, and Rousseau has been benefiting from really great interior defensive line play, there's no place for Basham right now. And that's fine. And that's fine. Because if we're talking about Basham making a move the same way as Epinesa made from his rookie year to his second year, Basher could hang out for a while. I'm good, right? I'm good because the change in Epinesa is palpable. It's really an incredible change, and I think it speaks to this coaching staff, and I love that. Right? There's so much about this team that I just absolutely love, and we have to talk about Star Lotulelei. We have to. Star was Dean Kindig, TC Astro Bills, I think is his handle on Twitter, posted a picture of Star triple covered. He was triple covered along the interior. And what did you see on the outside? Well, do the math, right? The Bills rushed 4, 3 were covering Star, right? It was incredible to watch. In that interior defensive line play, Star Lotulelei looked phenomenal, and Oliver has looked great. Now, Harry wasn't active last game, and they're remaining to keep Justin Zimmer active, which again speaks to the fact that, like, Oliver, I think they've really come to realize that Oliver is not a pressure defensive tackle. I think it was kind of easy to put him in that category because everybody, when Oliver was drafted, everybody looked at Oliver and said, "Oh, well, he's not really a nose tackle. He'll be a pass rush defensive tackle for you. He's not really a nose tackle. He's playing out of position in college." Okay, so his first year, he's not really at a great weight for where you want him. Okay, well, year 2 rolls around and Ed has a good season. Probably not what you thought from, a player that was drafted as high as he was. All right. Well, now season 3 rolls around. I think Ed is having the best season of his career. I mean, I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close at all. Brian Bauer says the D line looks ferocious, makes O lines look atrocious. So yeah, we're braggadocious. Man, if that's not a drunk Bills Mafia tattoo, I don't know. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Um, you, as this defense, as the linebackers continue to play at the level that they're playing, and you're noticing that they're using Edmonds in a variety of different pass rush roles. At least they did in Miami, which was a lot of fun. Edmonds was really a very solid blitzer in college, but the downside with Edmonds playing where he was in the middle was when they'd blitz him, they'd often blitz him up the 1, 2, 3 gaps. And Edmonds isn't the greatest at getting off those big guys like that, right? You want Edmonds to be effective in your blitz package, put him on the edge. That's where he's effective. He's a freak. He's fast, he's strong, he's quick, but you don't want to put him in the sloppy stuff. He's going to get washed out. You saw Buffalo finally start to blitz Edmonds off the edge against Miami. And that's because the interior play is so strong. They could take their middle linebacker and move him right out to the edge and leave Milano in the middle and say, okay, we're going to survive. We're going to be just fine, right? We're going to live. It's no big deal. And when you have the versatility in your defensive line to be able to move your middle linebacker to the edge to blitz, you got something special cooking. Now, we could all talk about the cornerback position and how there's a lot of needs there, right? And Buffalo you're going to keep hearing Buffalo bring in defensive cornerbacks. You're just going to see them bring in corners all season, right? It's gonna be what it is, and that's fine. The real fun is going to be watch Teron Johnson played great last week. Absolutely great against Miami. Watch players like Teron Johnson. I mean, guys, come on. Look at the secondary for the Bills. Micah Hyde got his first sack as a Buffalo Bill last week. Their tackles for loss right now, they're at 14 tackles for loss. 14. That's a huge number for only playing 2 games. Right, the Bills are in the backfield. The Bills are in the backfield a lot this season. Maestro Shine says Rousseau is rookie defensive player of the year. Rousseau has looked great, and Rousseau is benefiting from some awesome play along the line. But you drafted him to be impactful. So far, so good, right? So while everybody had concerns, myself included, right? Myself included, that the beginning of this season was going to be a little rough. You're looking at your secondary. You got Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson. You're really just one MCL sprain away from being in, really bad shape in the secondary. Then you look at the pass rush that the Bills are being able to generate, really just 4. And then the creativity that we're seeing with them moving around their linebackers in that pass rush. And you go, well, maybe we're okay. Maybe we're okay. And I don't mean okay as like we'll survive the season. I mean okay as in like maybe this is what it's supposed to feel like. I know we've had great defenses in the past, right? I'm not going to say that we haven't had great defenses. This one feels different. I don't know what it is because it's the same team. Right. The exception is you're seeing a little less of Jerry Hughes, a little less of Mario Addison, a little more AJ Epinesa, a little more Greg Rousseau, and that's going to burn you at some point, right? Playing rookie defensive ends, that's going to burn you at some point because it's not just about getting the quarterback. There's a lot more that goes into being a defensive end inside the NFL. You have to maintain gap integrity. Like there's a lot that goes into it. But for now, if it is just go get the quarterback, it was pretty fun to watch. I mean, it's really fun to watch. I look at it this way, guys. Is this what a championship defense feels like? The tackle for loss numbers say yes, right? To me, the tackle for loss numbers say yes. But Nathan says, pump the brakes a little bit. We've played two of the worst offensive line in football. That's probably pretty fair. It's going to be one of the three worst offensive lines when we play Washington. Washington's offensive line's pretty bad. They're pretty bad. The Jets' defensive line, or offensive line, Jets' offensive line is pretty bad. Washington's offensive line is pretty bad. Let's see. Patriots' offensive line, yeah, they're pretty bad. Seems like a theme this season, doesn't it? Anthony says the Bills can have a similar defensive outing against Washington on Sunday. It'll be difficult to contain one's excitement. And that's what I'm saying. This is not going to change, right? You're going to look at this Bills defensive line and the schedule that they're playing, and they're going to look strong the whole time, right? They're going to look strong all season long because their schedule says they'll look strong. Now, mind you, of course, you have game against Kansas City. That okay, right? Okay, but even Kansas City's offensive line has looked pretty poor. And that's what happens when you have a really expensive quarterback. You got to make compromises somewhere, right? And oftentimes that's across the offensive line. They are having real trouble in Kansas City with their offensive line. I mean, big time trouble with their offensive line. But man, this is fun to watch. And the things that I thought I'd be most concerned about, I thought the linebackers would end up being overcommitted because you don't really have a great secondary. You have Trey White, who is playing at a Pro Bowl level. You have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, who are playing like every game is their last game. Teron Johnson was phenomenal last week. And then you have the Levi Dane Jackson combination that you'll probably see, more and more of a rotation as the season goes on. And then you have Siran Neal after that. I don't love that, right? You looked at their secondary and they kept like three players on the practice squad that played cornerback. And you go, okay, well at least they know, right? At least they know. Robert Field says Hughes lost contains on Mahomes and Murray last year. I'll take my chances on the rookies. It's a great point. That is a great point. Mahomes is a tough one. Mahomes is a tough example, right? He really does a good job of manipulating the pocket. Way more patient than Josh is in that respect. Definitely more patient than Josh is. Josh has a tendency to get out of there a little quick, but I know they're 1-1. Right? I get they lost to Pittsburgh. Washington's a tough matchup. I can't wait for Sunday. I have Washington team is that Washington team is a good one. They're a good one. But this defensive line is going to look strong for a really, really long time because look at their schedule. It says they're going to look strong. You don't need to activate Basham. Don't worry about him. He's fine. Don't worry about activating Harry. A lot of people are saying, well, I can't believe Harrison Phillips hasn't been activated. Right? He was inactive last week. Yeah, that's okay. You're going to see Harry and Justin Zimmer kind of alternate there, right? If they're going against a team where they feel like they need a little bit more run support, then you'll probably see Harry. If they're going against a team that they know they need a little more pass support, where the team's not going to really pressure them on the interior with their offensive line, then you're going to see Justin Zimmer. It's probably that simple. And that's okay, right? And that's okay. But Star and Ed need to get so much more credit than they're getting right now, because you can't talk about Epinesa, you can't talk about Rousseau, you can't talk about those guys without saying first, without starting that sentence with, man, Ed Oliver and Star Lotulelei are good at football. This is what you drafted Ed for, right? You drafted Ed to play next to Star, to give you what you're getting now. And I don't think they're getting the appreciation they deserve, and they should. Beantown says, Logan Thomas, 7 catches, 85 yards this weekend. Not worried about that. Oh, sorry, that was, excuse me, that wasn't Beantown. That was Blessed One Tony. And we know what Logan Thomas is all about. Buffalo has a tendency to run a fair amount of nickel, and I'd expect to see that with a back like Antonio Gibson. I'd kind of expect to see a lot of nickel. Bills don't really run a lot of 3 linebacker sets, so you're not going to see 3 linebacker sets against Washington either. Logan Thomas has definitely got the advantage over Teron Johnson in that respect, but I'd take Logan Thomas on Matt Milano. That's fine. Logan Thomas even on Tremaine. That's fine. They practiced together for 2 seasons. That's fine. That's fine. Sports Hub. Does anybody notice when our offense plays elite, our defense plays bad, and when our defense plays elite, our offense plays trash? We're 2 games in. I'm not super worried about that, right? I'm not super worried about that. The Bills are the only team not to allow a single first half point, and that is 100% true. The Bills have yet to allow a team to score in the first half. Everybody's on the Tyler Heineke train, comparing his stats to Josh's stats or whatever, man. Heineke's he's a fun spark plug, right? I love a player who goes out there and just wears it, right? Just is gonna die on that football field because he knows that this isn't his job, right? He's not supposed to be out there. This is not his job. That's okay. That's okay. I'm good with that. Remember old-fashioned trousers? Anyone ever had back-to-back shutouts? Washington is going to score at some point. They're going to score at some point. It's bound to happen. The Bills aren't going to shut Washington out. I would bet the over, though. But you probably get a real nice line on that over. I would bet the over. Josh Clark, Duck Hodges 2.0. Thank you. Yes. That is a completely fair comparison. Because when the Bills played the Steelers and Duck Hodges was in there for the week ahead of time, all you heard was how Duck Hodges is this, outstanding player with a bright future because he's such a hard worker. And then Buffalo absolutely slapped him across the face. Yeah. It's a great story. That's kind of where that ends for me, right? He's Rory McIlroy on quarterbacks. Thanks. I think it's Mario. Thanks, Mario. I love you, buddy. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. I got to get to work. I got the kids off to school. Busy day. Hope you enjoyed your morning coffee with Paul. Hey, if this is what a championship defense looks like, guys, I'm here for it. I am here for it. Thank you to Mr. Rogers Homes for sponsoring the show. And if you are going to bet this week, mybookie.ag, promo code HTS will double your first deposit. Listen, if you want to bet a game, Bills game's a great one to bet, and parlay that with Baltimore over Detroit. Detroit hasn't beat Baltimore since Lamar Jackson was in the 2nd grade, so probably not a bad one to bet. All right, guys. I'll see you. Thanks again.